If you're a remote worker trying to base yourself in Europe, you are probably looking at the usual suspects. Portugal, Spain, maybe Greece. But let's be honest, these countries are getting overcrowded, way too expensive. And once you start looking into rentals, you get an instant headache. So let me tell you about a country that is still under the radar, but it offers 10% flat tax, EU residency, fast internet and furnished apartments for under 500 euro. It has modern cities where you can still live comfortably without fighting 10,000 other expats for the same apartment. I'm Olga, and for the past 8 years I've been living long-term in Turkey, Vietnam, Thailand. I spent months in Portugal, Greece, Albania, Netherlands and Germany, and still, after living in all those countries, right now I decided to base myself in Bulgaria. And since moving here, I've helped other expats to do the same, from finding apartments to securing long-term residency. I cover everything you need to know to relocate in my Bulgaria expat guide, and I provide ongoing support via chat, and I'm answering the questions myself. It is not another AI bot. You will find the links in the description. When me and my husband decided to move to Bulgaria, the first question we needed to answer is to which city? Because what we found out in our research is that there are at least 6 cities popular with expats. So we traveled to Bulgaria and visited each city ourselves. And after visiting those 6 cities, actually only one made sense for us, for our lifestyle. I'm not gonna force you to watch the whole video to find out which city it is. We settled on the capital, but everyone's situation is different, so you might choose another one. So let's talk about each and every one, but let's start with the capital, with the Sofia. Sofia is Bulgaria's capital and the largest city. It's located in the western part of the country, close to the Serbian border. It sits at the foot of Vitoša mountain and has a population of around 1.3 million people. Unlike some other capitals in Eastern Europe, Sofia has a metro, multiple bus and tram lines, international schools, several major malls, and an airport that flies all over Europe. It's not a tourist-heavy destination, and surprisingly, it's not yet very popular with digital nomads, which is one of the reasons it's still affordable and livable. And when we first arrived to Sofia, we were a bit underimpressed, I must say. The city felt a bit run down, but quickly it started growing on us as we visited different neighborhoods. And the infrastructure is just unbeatable if you compare it with other cities in Bulgaria. It has more shopping malls, which is not exactly the reason I would choose one city over the other, but it's for sure an indicator of how developed a city is. It has lots of coffee shops, co-working spaces, surprisingly many co-working spaces in Sofia alone. It has a big choice of good apartments at an affordable price. Another surprise was that there are so many parks in the city and they are also well maintained. So if you choose to live in one of the neighborhoods popular with expats, I can guarantee you will have a really good, walkable and well maintained park nearby. And we do still want to travel from time to time, especially in Europe, and Sofia is the one city in Bulgaria that has such a well-connected airport. Also, in terms of language barrier, I find it that in Sofia many people speak at least some English. It's easy to book a doctor that is English speaking, find an accountant, a lawyer, anyone that you might need who will speak decent English. Like every capital in every country, Sofia just has better infrastructure. And one thing that was crucial for my husband and me is that apartments have both ACs for the hot summer and heating, preferably central heating for the cold winters. And Sofia offers tons of rental options, from Soviet blocks to apartments in the newly built buildings. Relatively fast, we could find an apartment that fits our needs: quiet, bright, spacious, good central heating, AC in every single room, strong Wi-Fi to work from home. And especially the central heating was very important to us, because in other cities in Bulgaria I've learned that it's rare to have it, but in Sofia it's more common. And if you lived in countries like Portugal or Turkey Or we had an experience in Albania where it's quite cold inside during the winter, even though outside it can be like 18 degrees. Inside you will still be freezing. And what we had in Albania once and in Turkey actually is that the heating was done via air conditioners. But after spending a month in an apartment that's heated like that, we decided that no, in our long-term apartment, the crucial thing for us is to have central heating or gas heating. And in terms of climate, in Sofia, summers are quite hot, but they are not very humid, so that makes it a bit more bearable than in the southern countries. And in the winter, it also can get colder and it's snowing from time to time, not always, but there are many sunny days, which is a difference from Northern Europe. And those sunny days, they make all the difference. It's not very windy, and it's sunny, and even 4 degrees Celsius doesn't feel as cold as it would feel, for example, in the Netherlands, where it might be the same 4 degrees, but it will be windy and rainy and it would feel like -10. We've now built our life in Sofia, and that's why I've built the relocation guide and chat to help others settle in without wasting time and be a part of the community where everyone is in the same boat. If you want that kind of support with your move, check out the links in the description. Sofia will be the best choice if you're a remote worker or a digital nomad or entrepreneur who is looking for 10% tax, who is looking for living in a big modern city, solid infrastructure, proper home office setup, easy airport access, a city that is easy to navigate without needing a car, and easy access to services in English like medical, lawyer, accountant, etc. It's not the cheapest city in Bulgaria, but in terms of value, in terms of what you get for those money, this city is unmatched. But not everyone wants a big city. Some people are drawn to smaller towns with more history. Next, let's talk about why we crossed Plovdiv off our list. Plovdiv is Bulgaria's second largest city, located about 19 minutes southeast of Sofia by car. Its population is 350,000 people, and it's famous for its Roman ruins, charming old town, and creative neighborhoods. It's often called the country's cultural capital, and it's popular with expats thanks to its slower pace and lower rental prices. We visited Plovdiv in the summer, and honestly that was the best choice ever, because then we realized Plovdiv is just not for us. Despite all the charm and recommendations, the heat there in the summer, it was brutal. The streets were almost empty. We wanted to go sightseeing, but we could manage only about 2-3 hours outside to see the old city. And on our second day, we just skipped the sightseeing and just went to a mall. Because in the mall you have the air conditioning. And since we want to spend most of the year in Bulgaria, especially the summers, that heat in Plovdiv was a deal breaker for us. Another downsides included that there is no airport like in Sofia, so every time you need to go somewhere you have to travel to Sofia. Of course, the infrastructure is just smaller. There are fewer options with clinics, fewer options with entertainment or shopping. And the price difference with Sofia in rentals was not crucial for us. But I do still think that Plovdiv would be a really good choice for people who are retiring and looking for a slower pace of life, looking to save up on their expenses like rentals and services. And of course, if you're planning a visit for a couple of months, for example in the spring or in autumn, Plovdiv can be a great choice as well. But for remote workers who need a base all year around, I would say that Plovdiv is not ideal. Next, let's talk about town that became a hotspot for digital nomads. But what about living there all year around? You've probably seen it all over YouTube. But is Bansko actually livable? Bansko is a small town in southwestern Bulgaria, about 2.5 hours from Sofia by car. Its population is 10,000 people and it's best known as a ski resort. But in recent years, it's also become a digital nomad hub. We definitely considered Bansko as our home base. It ticks a lot of the boxes: affordable housing, co-working spaces, and a tight-knit expat community, as well as gorgeous mountains mountain views, of course. But for us, there were a couple of major deal breakers. The first one is the infrastructure. Because it's such a small town, there is no public transport, there are only a few supermarkets, no malls, limited medical care, and basically for anything serious, you need to drive to Sofia. And the second deal breaker was the seasonality. Of course, in the winter, it becomes a popular ski town, so the prices also rise because of it. And in the summer, it becomes a magnet for digital nomads. But in between, it can become a bit empty. And yes, you make many connections, but people come and go, and making long-lasting friends is more difficult. And while some people do like the quietness of a small town, we definitely wanted to live in a city where expat community is not as transient. And finally, there is no airport, and for regular travel, it's an inconvenience. Moscow can be a great choice if you only want to stay for a couple of months. You want the co-working spaces, you want other nomads and affordable housing, and you don't need to have access to a big city. It can also be appealing for retirees who love the calm and the nature and low expenses and don't need access to urgent medical care. But for remote workers, especially without a car, Moscow might not be the best choice. Now let's head to the historic center of Bulgaria with stunning views and a slower pace of life. Veliko Ternova is a mid-sized town in central Bulgaria known for its dramatic hilltop setting and medieval fortress. Its population is about 80,000 people, and it's about 3 hours by car from Sofia, from the capital, and roughly 2.5 hours from the Black Sea. We visited Veliko Ternova, and honestly, it is stunning. The views are amazing, the vibe is calm, and it's full of history. It reminded us of Plovdiv, but with even slower pace and a more compact layout. We could definitely see the appeal of living there. But for us, it was more of a place to visit rather than base yourselves long term. And like other small towns, the infrastructure of course is limited. There is maybe one mid-sized mall, some local restaurants and shops, but no airport nearby and fewer modern conveniences. For people living in Veliko Ternova, traveling abroad means traveling to Sofia first every time. With all that said, Veliko Ternova is definitely a place for us to come back to and visit, but just not base ourselves full time. I would say for retirees who are looking to slow down, to lower their prices, but still have a city full of history and culture and scenery, this might be the perfect place. But if you need international travel, co-working spaces, daily conveniences, this town might feel too small. And my husband and me, we've been living in seaside cities for quite some time now, and we were really hoping that one of the cities on the Black Sea will be our perfect place in Bulgaria. So we headed to the coast and started with the first city popular with expats, Burgas. Burgas is a mid-sized city on Bulgaria's southern Black Sea coast, and it's home to about 400,000 people. It's about 4 hours by car from Sofia and one of the country's major seaside hubs. It has its own airport, a large sea garden park, a pleasant city center, and a more relaxed vibe than Sofia. It's popular in the summer, especially with retirees and Bulgarians looking for a quiet coastal life. Burgas left a great first impression on us. We came there right after visiting Plovdiv, where the heat was unbearable and the difference was huge. Even though the temperature was similar, the sea breeze made it way more comfortable. We could actually go for walks, enjoy the seaside parks and sit in cafes. Burgas has a lot going for it. Decent public transport, smaller but well-kept city center, and overall calm local atmosphere. But here's what made us hesitate. Even though many people say that in Burgas, prices and overall costs of living are much lower than in Sofia, at the same time we keep hearing that these days people who are living there long-term say that especially the rentals and grocery shopping became just as expensive as in the capital, in Sofia. And while the seaside lifestyle is really nice, we love it a lot, but you cannot unfortunately compare the infrastructure to capital. You won't find the same variety of restaurants, co-working spaces and other conveniences, including medical help, as you will find in the capital in Sofia. Plus, flights from the airport are very limited. For many directions you will still have to go to Sofia first. And the major downside, the one I keep mentioning, is that the heating again is mostly with air conditioners and central heating is rare. Burgas is great if you want to live by the sea with a quieter and calmer pace of life. Perfect for retirees or seasonal remote workers who want to spend summers by the sea and just enjoy your time without the chaos of a big capital city. But if you work online full-time or you need to travel often, I would say that Sofia still offers more daily conveniences. Next, we went further up the coast to the biggest city on the Black Sea in Bulgaria, Varna. Could this be the perfect mix of beach life and the city life? About 5 hours from Sofia by car. It's a major port city with a population over 400,000 people, its own airport and a lot more infrastructure than other coastal towns. In summer it's lively and full of energy, but still feels like a local city, not just a resort. And after Burgas we thought maybe Varna would be the one, and it did leave a strong impression. It was noticeably bigger than Burgas, with more shops, more restaurants, a much bigger park by the seaside. Again, it's very well taken care of and there's a variety of seaside restaurants, and such a big park of course makes it perfect for longer walks. I must say that some neighborhoods of Varna felt more developed while others a bit more run down, kind of like Sofia. We explored the city center and the park. We walked the main pedestrian street that leads to the seaside, that's full of shops, restaurants, just generally life. In the summertime there were so many people, we felt like we're in a capital and not in a coastal town. And if we had to pick a seaside base in Bulgaria, we would definitely choose Varna over Burgas. But still, with all these good things that I just said, Varna didn't beat Sofia as a home base for us. Why? First of all, the airport that I mentioned, it still doesn't fly to that many destinations. And for most destinations, you would still first need to go to the airport in Sofia. Another downside is, of course, apartments. Heating and insulation in seaside towns is often lacking, because those apartments are not built for cold winters. Winter in the coastal towns can feel damp and cold, mostly because of the heat and the humidity, even though the overall temperature is higher than, for example, in Sofia. And like other coastal towns, the off-season is much slower. And while Varna does have an airport, it is still limited in direct flights compared to Sofia. Varna can be great for people who want to live by the seaside, but want it to be a real working city with more infrastructure, events, and overall variety than Burgas. It's popular with retirees, seasonal expats, and remote workers who don't need year-round flight access and are okay with a slower pace. So, in Bulgaria, we have the beach, we have the mountains, we have small towns, big towns. Let's recap what it came down to when we chose Sofia. And if you're planning a move to Bulgaria or even considering it, I made a full relocation guide based on everything we've learned. How to find housing step by step, how to avoid overpriced apartments targeted at foreigners, what steps you need to go through to get a residency, what is best to register as a freelancer or as a company. And if you need help figuring things out along the way, I also run an expat Q&A chat where you can ask your questions directly and join one of the upcoming members-only events. You will find the guide and the chat linked below. We went into this trip with an open mind and we genuinely wanted to find the place that would make perfect sense for us long term. And we were really hoping that one of the seaside cities would win us over. But in the end, it was Sofia that had everything that we wanted. The first thing for us is the big international airport, so we can travel as often as we would like. Second is of course the infrastructure, the transportation, the medical services, co-workings, restaurants, shopping malls. We could not find such variety in other towns in Bulgaria. In fact, in all of them, the options were very limited. The remote work community, I would say it's still growing. It's not yet overrun as Lisbon or Barcelona. And when it comes to things like setting up your home office or seeing an English-speaking doctor or managing your day-to-day life, Sofia was the one place where we felt we're not limited. But when you're working online, want to stay productive and live well without paying Western European prices, Sofia just works. Now that you've seen how Bulgaria looks like, what about how to actually move there? In the next video, I'm walking you through the exact steps for getting a 5-year residency, sharing the mistakes we've made and what you need to know before applying.